Which car is this again?
This is a
'06 Dodge Ram?
06 Dodge Ram 2500. It was an intermittent no start. So in the blue is my key. When you're turning the key, it's powered to the relay, to the starter relay. So this is powered to the relay when I'm.
Oh, it's intermittent, no crank?
It's intermittent.
No crank, okay.
So it has a totally integrated power module. It has a.
Oh, nice.
It has a separate relay for the starter.
Oh, it does, okay.
Which is probably
That's good.
the add-on kit or something. In the red, this is the computer that grounds the solenoid. So as long as it's grounded here while I'm cranking it, that starter should engage. This in the green is power from the totally integrated power module to go to the starter, and this in the yellow is going from the relay to the starter. So you understand what I'm saying? So turn the key, there's power there.
Yeah.
The PCM is grounding like it's supposed to for that circuit. We have the power from the integrated module, and then it should go to the starter. Well, right here was a no crank. And it took a little while, but I actually had all the information right here. Here is when it did crank. So we have power coming out of the relay going to the starter. But if you look at right here, if you zoom in, you can see this relay is failing already. Even though it's cranking, it's power on, power off, power on, power off. It's a failing relay. And let's see, let me get this back. So if I close this, you can kind of see it, but over time it really showed its face right here. Again, this is powered from the switch. This is the computer grounding the solenoid. So that now we have power from to the relay from the integrated module. And this should have been a cranking situation. There was no crank because there was no power from the relay going to the starter. And then
So
right here it was.
Like, is the green one like pin
Green.
85 or 86?
Something
Pin 30
like that.
is the red one, right? And
Yeah.
hot one, and so it's pin like 85, 86. Okay, got it.
Something like that, yeah. So that's coming from as soon as you open the door, this circuit right here for that vehicle automatically gets power. As soon as you open the door, the integrated module starts putting power to it. So this one's ready to give power to the starter solenoid too. But then, like I said, right here is when it started, but you could see this relay was failing. It wasn't holding the contacts closed. It was open and closed. And that's a simple one there. I have something else. So the guys at AES, Carlos, he made this little switch thing. So we're talking about the U scope, which is a 1-channel scope, and I like having a 2-channel scope. I thought 2 channels would be really good. So here's a little video. So right here is the switch they made. So here's my little U scope. The wire comes out, it goes into the switch box, and then right here it comes out one here and one here with a little toggle switch. So I can actually use it like a 2-channel scope. And I'll just play this. So this is a brake switch to take it out of park for the shift interlock. And one right here, I have it on current for the wire, and then the other part of the channel is on voltage, and it'll kind of explain it. And then testing a shift lock solenoid for voltage and current with a 1-channel U-scope. So voltage, right there, applying brake, switch, change my scale, current. Now I'm getting current from, this is on the 1-channel.
Yeah.
So with that, I use this same box here, and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. This was a car with 4 cam sensors and 1 crank sensor, and I only have a 4-channel scope, so you need 5 channels, but I didn't have it. So I have 1 channel on the crank sensor. This is on bank 1 intake cam. This is on bank 2 intake cam. This is on, bank 2 intake cam. This is on bank 2 exhaust. So you notice bank 1 intake, bank 2 intake, bank 2 exhaust. So I'm missing 1 cam.
Bank 1 exhaust.
But I use that same switch. So right here, if we take this and we move it up, you can see my intake cams, both intake cams match up. So that gives me a good timing for this. This car had no problems. It was just for testing purposes. So these line up pretty good here, and then you can do your cam and crank for timing correlation. So then after I switched that switch, you notice now they don't line up here, but they will line up down here on the right with my exhaust cams. So I use that little switch block to change it. And it was so fast. I mean, that switch happened within this amount of time right here. It is so fast. And I'm not gonna buy an 8-channel scope. I don't want an 8-channel scope. I don't want the expense of it. But I can use this for a car with 5 sensors. And I can do it on 1 running page. So in this whole time, I just set my scope up, and it's, I don't remember what the time frame is it's running, but there's a lot of time on here it's running, and then halfway through, right here, I just put a cursor before I started. I set it right here. So when the car is running and I got to about right here, then I hit the little switch, and it changed this one
To another channel, okay.
yeah, from 1 cam to another. So, which was,
It only displays 4 channels, but you can go back and forth on the 4th channel and yeah, okay.
so again, right on the left, right here is the 2 intake cams and 1 exhaust cam. 2 intake cams, 1 exhaust.
I got it.
And then once I switch it, I can do my measurements here for cam and crank.
Yes.
And then once I switched it, now I can measure both my exhaust cams and just verify that everybody's lined up. It looks good here on the left. These look good. It looks good here. Over here, it looks good. And then again, I can determine whether I have a cam or crank on a 4-channel scopes.
I got a question for you. So a little box,
Yeah.
put it on 1 channel, right?
Mhm.
What if I had 2 boxes?
You could do that.
6 channels.
You could have
But
6
I'll
channels.
display 4 at a time.
Yeah.
And like you said, with these 4 cam sensors and a crank,
Mhm.
I see that. And plus, time-wise, it takes a little bit more time to get that hooked up, especially the
Yep.
GM ones on the back side here to get to it. And, you know, what I know as far as me, when I know I gotta start checking correlation here, it's like, okay, Mr. Customer, we're past the hour now. You know, we need more time here to go to
Right.
the next step.
Right. I've done it different ways. So in the past, I would hook up the 4 channels that I had. I'd run it, then I'd stop it. Then I'd have to switch to the other intake cam or the other exhaust cam, then run it again. Now I have 2 different waveforms saved, but I can't compare the 2. I can't overlay
You
the
guys
2.
overlay them,
So here I can overlay both right here.
So do
while
you
it's
have a
running.
patent on that switch then, Gil?
Carlos and them made it. They made it in like a couple of days, and I was putting it to use. I use it on my little U scope, which I use quite a bit. It's a 1-channel powerful little scope, and I can use that with the 2 channels. So I'm really happy with it.
Well, I can see that because more and more sensors we're looking at it. You know, we only had 2 cam sensors. Now there's 4.
Right.
You know, it is an issue. I know you showed it to us at on the CADs. You know.
Yeah,
Was it Clovis the first time we saw it, but he wouldn't tell us about it.
I couldn't because they had to
He
take
was
care
on
of
the
that
jag
end of it
order.
first, so. Yeah, all I could do was say, this is what I did, but I couldn't say how it was done, but now it seems like it's okay. But on the left again, they're lined up, and both intake cams on the left, and then on the right, both exhaust cams on one page, one waveform, and then I don't have to overlay two different ones, so I'm happy with that. So that's,
Yeah, that would make life a lot easier.
if you only have a 4-channel. I have two 4-channel scopes, I don't have an 8-channel. And again, I don't plan on, this at 65, I don't plan on doing that, so.
Nobody can find 5-channel scopes anywhere either.
No,
So
I was wondering why they didn't have a 6-channel, but.
Yeah,
So you had the line, you know, the polka
cursor.
dot line
Yeah.
coming down? Okay. And that's where you sort of marked it where, when it got to, I mean,
I put
that's
the-
where you flick the
I
switch.
put the line right in the middle, and then I started the scope, so it was gonna be there. So
okay,
when,
okay, oh, you just pulled it over afterwards, okay,
no, I pulled it over ahead of time,
okay.
and then I started the scope capture. It has a few other pages in there, but right there is where I wanted the cursor, so I knew that I had this much time, and then I was gonna flip the switch somewhere around here. Okay. And then, you know, and then it would go to the other. Really interesting. I'm so happy they made that, because again, it saves me a lot of time with a 4-channel scope and 5 sensors that I need to look at, so.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And that's all I got. That's that little guy right
Oh.
there, pretty nice. Okay. Robert, you think you get nervous talking?
But you always do good.
Yeah, but I have my hands over here shaking. I don't know.
Rhonda?
All right.
Okay. All right. So, what we've done, if you don't know what this is, you probably know what this is. If you do not, on camera, do not know what this is. The the Central California Diagnostic Club, which is made up of independent shops, independent automotive repair shops. And we got involved with the school districts about 6-8 years ago because we wanted the students to come out of these programs and be employable and be ready to work. And so what we did with Central and other schools is we developed a set of curriculum or a set of tests that we would like them to be able to do and know how to do and perform, so that once they came in their shop, they would be ready to go. And there was a bunch of these tests. And with that, each of those skill sets, we have come up with a diploma, so that when a student passes a certain skill set, they are given a diploma, which that when they apply for a job, for employment, we would like to see these diplomas so that we know that you have qualified skill sets. So just like most technicians have to go through ASE, or we go through ASE to get our certifications, and but ASE doesn't have anything like this, so this is something that we had to develop ourselves. So as far as I can tell, this is the first in the nation, along with your instructor, Robert. We were able to start, and ASC Way with Carlos and those guys, we were able to do a curriculum for the different skill sets, and then when you finish that curriculum and actually demonstrated that you were proficient with that skill set, that's what these indicate. So, congratulations. These are the third, Carlos, is this the third set of okay guys, come up here and shake your hand, and so everybody know, can you smile for the camera?
Two
Huh?
names.
Luis Alvarado, is that right?
Louis, this
That's me.
is Louis, and this is Louise.
Luis, yeah, you got me too many Lewises and Luises. And so can you just tell me for a little bit, did you guys both pick the same skill set? Did you do the same curriculum?
Yes.
How hard was it and how long did it take you to do it?
Well, I've done it multiple years. The
Okay.
first time it was a little difficult, but over the years I've redone it, so
Good.
it's been more easier.
I took this class twice technically. The first year I took it was intro to audio. That's a kind of difference, basically going over the basic systems of all the cars. And when I took the intro to audio, I didn't touch the Picoscope because I saw it was too complicated. But the second year I came into ROP Auto, that we went over engines. And that year I went into it and I greatly enjoyed it and found it easy.
Good. Well, that is good. Congratulations. You guys are what we envisioned when we started this a while back, and please spread the good news to the other students, and that's going to be really good for us. Okay, when you have other students in your class, right? And you go into the lab and they're all working on engines, and you're going and getting the scope and you're connecting it to the car, so you actually are diagnosing the car, that you actually know what's wrong before you ever start tearing anything apart. So we already know what's wrong before you tear something apart, and then when you tear something apart, then you validate the diagnostic, and then you know for sure right then and there when you put it back together it's going to work, because you have two forms of validation. So all right guys, wanted you all to know that.